tell you, that was so inspiring. Heaven knows we need more math teachers like him. I know I would have loved to have one like you. So thank you so much for that really inspiring talk. I'm a bit nervous. The problem with being someone who is witnessing many stories and has to talk about those stories is that person almost always is the last speaker. And that's a challenge. So thank you, Anshul and team, for making that happen. I'm mostly going to be talking about, I think it'll cover a lot of the questions that came up now. I'm going to be talking about how people have been creating social change. So social change, the word in itself, I mean, it's so, people make it sound so exotic. Like it's so difficult to get, it's not something that you do on a regular basis, right? And it's not a fault. Be it the media, teachers, not you Akshay, but regular teachers, our schools, family, they make it look like social change is something a group, a niche set of people do, and then there's regular work, right? No, that's not how it is. I think that is the biggest misconception ever. And let me explain why. We all live in a perfectly imperfect society. We deal with those imperfections every single day. Be it like the really bad road you had to travel on, or the horrible, horrible parking infrastructure at the village, or the lady who's getting beaten up next door, or the maid in the next lane who's being mistreated, or the kid that you know should be going to school but is working in a workshop near your college or office. These are all things that you witness every single day. Some of them bother you, some of them make you angry, some of them make you want to change things, to change that. Those are the seeds of social change. So now I'll quickly talk about a few other people, not me, who are way inspiring. Could we have the next slide, please? This is Kenchamma. The names might sound a little weird for people who are not familiar with Karnataka and Kannada names. She is a Dalit lady. She was, several years ago, many people in the village said, there is a Dalit seat in the village panchayat. We should actually get a woman who's illiterate elected so that we can get our things done our way. So they chose Kenchamma, who was completely illiterate, had 3 children. She became the president of the village panchayat. Are you guys familiar with the whole gram panchayat system?
Yes.
All right. So she became the village panchayat president. Didn't know what the hell was going on. For 5 years, almost never visited the office. She knew that there were a lot of things that were going wrong. And for her, the problem was, she realized the problem was because she felt that she didn't have literacy. And for her, that was a problem that she wanted to change. And so, she started off with ensuring that her 3 kids went to school, started to learn to read and write from them in Kannada. And then, by the time it was 5 years, she stood for elections again. Her funders funded her, obviously, because they made a huge profit the previous time she was president. She became president again. This time, things were different, because she now knew to read, and she knew what she was signing on to. So she started changing stuff. She started challenging a lot of power structures. There was a lot of backlash. She ensured that her village and the village panchayat had 0 child labor, a place that had such high levels of child labor. She ensured that stopped, and all these kids went back to school. I cannot even tell you. I mean, it took her 10 years to do that. A lot of difficulties, a lot of backlash. This is what she managed to do. The 3rd time the elections came around, she wanted to contest. She didn't have any supporters. She stood on her own. But this time, people knew what she had done. So she won again. She was 3 times president of the village panchayat, a Dalit woman, an illiterate Dalit woman. Can we have the next slide, please? This is Bandhu Dhotre. Anyone heard of him? Any wildlife buffs? All right. Bandhu is from a really small town near Nagpur. Anyone heard of the Tadoba Andheri Tiger Reserve? Okay. It's a huge forest area in central India. It has a lot of tigers, a lot of biodiversity in it. He grew on the outskirts of that forest. He has been completely in love with the forest. He was an LIC agent. When he got to know, and he was hardly making a living, when he got to know about a huge coal mine that was coming and that would destroy about 1,000 acres of the forest. He mobilized people. He started off by getting volunteers, mobilized people, had huge protest rallies, did lobby work. It took him 2 to 3 years of hardcore just campaigning to actually stop the coal mine from coming. This man is now so established in his work that hardly makes any money. It's from a financial point of view extremely difficult. But he is someone who can actually shake the Maharashtra State Assembly into ensuring that there are stronger laws for TATR and forests in the state. Powerful story. The thing about Change.org, the reason I changed it, these are not Change.org stories, but I interacted with them while I was traveling around and my previous jobs. And I realized that whatever your situation, whatever your challenge, if you're driven by a certain passion, you will find your way in trying to express it. And if you've got it right, you become a leader by your own means. And that's when I came across Change.org that was actually trying to provide a platform for regular citizens to convert their issues into campaigns, right? Into campaigns that they can win. And I was fascinated by the idea. It was the idea of building leaders. It was the idea of providing tools for everybody to create whatever change they wanted to see in the world and not subscribe to general notion of change, right? Can we have the next slide, please? One story from here. Regular middle-class girl from Bangalore, 18 years old, was in the 12th standard. She used to take the bus to go to school and travel around, was really fed up of the harassment she faced and she witnessed in buses. She thought about it and she felt, well, there are many ways of addressing this issue, but at the least, the bus authority, the transport corporation, it's their prerogative to ensure that they are taking steps to stop this. So she started a petition asking the Bangalore Metropolitan Transport Corporation, BMTC, to actually put up helpline numbers in all the buses. Campaign ran for 3 months. More than 30,000 people signed on, helped her, pushed the campaign. She reached out to the authorities. BMTC was very proactive, so they reached back. They involved her in conversations. 3 or 4 months down the line, there were dedicated helpline numbers for women. BMTC dedicated lines. They had the numbers put up in all the buses. There was sensitization program done for the staff, and there were periodic reviews and checks that were done in buses. All because of an 18-year-old girl who was like in the middle of her board exams and is now going to learn to become a lawyer. She's studying to be a lawyer. That's Amla. Could I have the next slide? Anyone from Chennai here? Okay. Oh, okay. So you guys know what a lovely thing it is to take the autos in Chennai, right? It's amazing. It's an experience, you guys. If you're traveling to Chennai, as if you're taking up on Neha's suggestion to travel within smaller places. Chennai is not small, Neha, sorry. But auto rides were terrible because the base fares have not been fixed in autos in several years. So the drivers wanted to obviously make a profit out of this. They would haggle, and then the whole business was just too much. Praladan is a doctor. He was getting really fed up of this. He had this horrendous experience one day and was like, he had this conversation with the auto driver and he said, Yana sir, what to do? Rates have not been changed. There's nothing we can do. We have to ask for more money. And passengers don't really understand that. So he figured one way of probably solving this is to ask the government to regulate the fares and like increase the minimum fare to 25 rupees, right? It was at 15 or 17. It took him 1 year. It was Amma's government. started a petition on change.org. Interacted with lots of the signers, got a lot of people to sign on, support his cause, push it, encourage him. 1 year later, he managed to get the fares revised to 25 rupees in Chennai. He said, I can't stop with this because Chennai is not Tamil Nadu, I have to do it for the rest of the state. So he did a follow-up campaign. 2 weeks ago, he won that. All the fares across Chennai, across Tamil Nadu have been changed. Regular doctor, government doctor. So he was really scared of doing this against government authorities as well. Next one. You guys heard about the horrendous child abuse case, the 6-year-old girl in school who was abused by her gym teacher? Okay. When the outrage was happening in the city, there was one lady who had a 3-year-old kid, petrified, completely scared of the situation, and realized that she must do something about it. Everyone was angry. Everyone wanted to beat somebody up, beat the school up. Like, this is not acceptable, right? But she realized that the government does not even have basic guidelines, safety guidelines for schools. Something that schools have to follow to ensure they are safer for children, for our children. And so she started a petition. In a week's time, she had 1,55,000 people signing on. It went crazy online. It went crazy offline. She organized, and there were lots of people meeting around to talk about this. The minister's office got in touch with her. It was directed at the education minister. The minister's office got in touch with her, with my colleague Venkatesh here, trying to say, listen, we have a draft going on. Stop harassing us. Tell us what you think about this draft, right? In a week's time, since the petition was started, there was a directive issued to all the schools in Karnataka, basic guideline that every school should follow for the first time ever in the state. Next slide, please. But the problem is that having guidelines doesn't necessarily mean implementation, right? A few weeks ago, there were more cases of children being abused in school again. This time, Maitri, a mother of 2 again, was like, she felt that she needs to keep engaging on this issue. And the implementation work requires parents in it. Like, if the guidelines need to be implemented, and if there's a panel to implement it, parents should be part of that. It can't just be bureaucrats, right? So she started a petition. It's still work, ongoing work. She's negotiating with the state machinery. But the point of all of this is that these kind of changes don't really end with one event. Change is constant, keeps happening. And what's amazing is that we've seen this cycle of people actually, like a relay race, taking on from where somebody has left, or somebody taking on or continuing with their journey. So what's the point of all of this, you ask? Basically, the idea of who owns social change, right? In a country that has 1 million problems, the only way out is if there are 1 million solutions. And those solutions are not going to come from just a few journalists or lawyers or organizations like YK or Change.org. Right? It will have to come from each and every one of you. And I believe that it's everyone's right as well as responsibility to be part of that social change. So it's not really a question of who. We've just discussed that. It's everyone, and across the whole privilege spectrum. It's not a question of how. I think with the kind of access to technology, to information, to all the things that we have around here, we're probably the best placed generation to create the kind of change that can be created, right? And we in this room, in Barsum right now, are probably the most privileged set of people who are powerful enough to actually spearhead something like that. The real question is, what is it that you want to change? Once you have that figured out and you really know that's what you want to do, I promise you everything else will follow. Thank you.